Today we're going to look at graphing equations in slope-intercept form, and this is the second day we're looking at this topic. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is my slope and b is my y-intercept. So that's where it crosses the y-axis. That's my y-intercept. So for instance, in number 1, if I'm given what the slope is equal to -5, and my y-intercept is -2. Using slope-intercept form, I just have to substitute. So I have y is equal to, my slope is the coefficient before the x, so it gives me -5x. And although it says plus b, which is my y-intercept is -2. So I'm just going to subtract a -2. So my equation of that line is y is equal to -5x minus 2. Okay, let's look at our first example. This time I want to get the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line directly from the graph. So the first thing I need to do is find the y-intercept, and in this graph it's right here on -2. Now the next thing I want to do is find another point so I can try to figure out what the slope is. And I'm looking for a point that goes through the corner of the box. So this point right here does go through the corner of the box. Now remember that my slope is rise over run. So I have to figure out, am I going up or down? Am I going left or right? So I'm going to kind of rewrite this down here. So rise over run. And remember rise, if I go up, if I'm counting up, that's affiliated or associated with a positive value. If I'm going down, that's associated with a negative value. And in my run, my denominator, if I'm going to the right, I'm going to use a positive number. If I'm going to the left, I'm going to use a negative number. So I always like to start from the point to the left, just to be consistent. So in this case, to try to get from the first point here to my second point here, I have to go up. And I'm going up 1. And if I look at my statement below, if I'm rising, if I'm going up and it's positive, then I have a positive 1. Once I go up 1, and I'm right here is kind of my location for now, then I go to the right 2. So that's my denominator, that's 2. And because I went to the right 2, again, looking here, that's positive. So my slope is 1/2. I already identified that my y-intercept was -2. So the equation of this line in slope-intercept form is y is equal to 1/2 x minus 2. Because I found my slope to be 1/2 and my y-intercept to be -2. Let's look at my next equation. My y-intercept in this case is actually right at the origin. So my y-intercept is 0. I need to find out what the slope is. Now, a point that goes through the corner of the box is right here. So again, I'm going to start at my point to the left, and I'm going to count up. I'm trying to get to the second point, so I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I'm going up 5, that gives me a positive 5. Now, from my location where I am right now, I'm going to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. When I go to the right 3, that gives me a positive 3. So my slope is 5/3. So because my y-intercept is 0, I don't need to write anything for my b value. So I have y is equal to 5/3 x. It would be plus 0, but we never write that in math. So here's the equation of my line. Now, one thing I can check is 5/3, my slope, is a positive number. And if I look at my graph, when I go bottom left to upper right, like we've talked about before, that's a positive slope. So that's one way to double check that I am confident in my slope. Looking at my next equation, my graph, I have a positive 5 is where my y-intercept is. So I'm going to put a 5 there. And then when I'm looking at my slope, I need to pick another value. I'm going to pick this value right here. It seems to go through the corner of the box. So from here, I'm going to start from my point to the left. I just think that's a little easier. And I'm going to go, trying to get to my second point, I'm going to go up 2. So remember, up 2 gives me a positive 2. And then I'm going to go to the right 1. When I go to the right 1, that's 1. So my slope is 2/1, which I rewrite as 2. So my equation of the line is y is equal to 2x plus 5. Now again, I can double check 2 is a positive slope. My slope does, my graph of my line does go from the bottom left to upper right, which is also a positive slope. Looking at my last equation, I have my y-intercept is positive 3, right here. I'm going to pick another point that goes through the corner of the box, which is right here. And again, I'm going to start with my point to the left to try to get to my point to the right. So I'm going to go down 1, This time my down 1, remember, is -1. And then I go to the right 3. To the right 3 is +3, so my slope is -1/3. Now again, when I'm looking at my graph, this time I'm going upper left to bottom right. That is a negative slope, so it looks like I did count my slope correctly. So my final equation of my line in slope-intercept form is -1/3 x plus 3.